very powerful. And I've been specialized in this area, not only in theory, but in practice, because we delivered many peer mediation training programs in schools in Greece. And it was one of the most powerful experiences in my life, although we didn't come, close to the students. We trained the professionals. Now, I would like to approach peer mediation from as a discipline alternative, because that was your title, and I think it's brilliant. And I would like to start by saying that most schools have a disciplinary system that by default is used for conflict management. And how effective disciplinary codes are ensuring the students behave accordingly is uncertain. So, of course, there are clearly ineffective the disciplinary codes at helping students reconcile interpersonal differences. This is for sure, and this is a reality. The recent increase, and I think this happens all over the world globally, the recent increase in student conflict has made this very clear. So, in our opinion, disciplinary codes do not address, do not help actually students to resolve their interpersonal differences. Now, I made a research, and I found that there are many reasons for that. Disciplinary systems do not distinguish between disciplinary offenses and interpersonal conflict. This is reason number one. Reason number two is that the disciplinary system relies almost exclusively upon sanctions and negative reinforcement. And when we have to deal with conflict among teenagers, you understand how that works and how escalates the disputes. Reason number three is that rather than resolve the issues in interpersonal conflict, sanctions escalate the conflict. Reason number four, the degree to which sanctions deter the violence of the school rules is unclear. And reason number five, sanctions like suspension undermine the basic educational mission of the school by removing those students from school who can least afford to miss school, and by giving them the message that they do not belong to school. And that of course, creates adults that are not close, they do not love education. So, of course, disciplinary consequences serve an essential function within schools, but sanctions have a very limited usefulness. So applying sanctions does little to help students resolve interpersonal conflicts. Schools need methods that motivate students to do the right thing. So peer mediation is one of those methods. And of course, we all know that the challenges that we all face, and I will come to that now, are very, very intense. And after the pandemic, there is pandemic has uncovered vicious hadrets. So we can see that population growth causes also environmental degradation, increasing competition for limited resources, and these and other factors, plus the pressure and the stress that we all felt during the pandemic, create conflicts so complex and of such far-reaching significance that they are beyond our imagining. And of course, all children will inherit these challenges. And there is no guarantee that when they confront those challenges and when they confront each other, they will be able to do so in a way that benefits all concerns. So I think one way to increase the odds is to teach children conflict resolution skills. And of course, the younger they are, even from elementary school, the better for them to learn these life skills in order to be more powerful and empowered to resolve their conflicts. So I would say that arguably the most effective programmatic approach to teaching conflict resolution skills is peer mediation programs. And the responsibility of resolving the conflicts lies in the hands of the students, and giving them this responsibility, as we will discuss together, it gives them this power to resolve their conflicts. So I would say that a 90% rate of agreement for mediation session is a fact when we are dealing with peer mediation. Of course, just to know, in order to have a successful peer mediation program, we need at least 3 to 5 years of implementation. And in order to have a successful peer mediation implementation, we need at least 70% of all the stakeholders involved, and not only involved, engaged. That means the principal, first of all, the teachers, the parents. The role of the family is crucial because the family will support the program, and of course the students. And every time we run a peer mediation training program in a school, we have a list of things that we tick in order to secure this 70% engagement. Because when the parents do not support the program, we have a huge problem. When the teachers are not engaged, again, we have a huge problem. And of course, we need the support of the principal, not only in the organization of the program, but also in the funds, how we will fund this program in order to be run at the schools. Whatever you want to ask me, of course, we will discuss everything at the end. Now, when you send me the agenda of the webinar, of course, you would like to cover the fundamentals of peer mediation, the importance of peer mediation in educational institutions, the operational framework, how we identify the need for peer mediation, and the additional pertinent subtopics that we can discuss together. Now, when we use the term peer mediation, and of course peer means youngsters of the same age or a little older, but being all pupils, we use this term because we might apply peer mediation not only in elementary or high school, but also at the university. The element of peer mediation is a peaceful conflict resolution technique with the assistance of specially trained teachers and pupils, of course, within a structured process. And for those of you who are already mediators, you know that mediation is a structured process. We will analyze the peer mediation structure very soon. But I want you to focus on the fact that we have someone who is the coordinator of the program. It might be 2 or 3 people from every school, and we train the teachers who train the students to become peer mediators. So actually what we do is that we deliver train the trainer program, and we train the teachers in order the school to be able every year to train new pupils. So they have the program, the school has the program, they know how to run it, and every year, because they have new pupils, they train them to become peer mediators. So there is an umbrella. I would say we have the coordinator of the program, we have the teachers who are trained to train the students, and then we have the students who act as peer mediators. And of course we will discuss peer mediation. Peer mediation is always a co-mediation. If we had time, and maybe in another webinar we could share a video of a peer mediation session where we have 2 students acting as co-mediators, and there is always, of course, the same principles as we will discuss together, and of course they follow a very structured process. We have 6 steps, as we will see. They have firm limits. We need active participation. Peer mediation is voluntary, as every mediation. And we need open communication on behalf of the parties in order to achieve one solution jointly agreed upon. Now, we say that we need, of course, to create this culture in at the school of peer mediation, and this is why we need 3 to 5 years to run the programs successfully. What are the benefits? Because that was one of the topics on our agenda. Many benefits, of course, and you know them, are attributed to peer mediation programs, including a reduction in interpersonal conflict, interpersonal violence, and of course now when we discuss about violence, we have cyber violence a lot, an improved school climate, and this is something that you can use as an argument in favor of a peer mediation program at the school, a dramatic decrease in the number of students suspended, and of course a 90% rate of agreement for mediation sessions. And the most important, according to my opinion, an increase in student self-esteem and responsibility. The success rate in peer mediation is the highest from any other form of mediation. In civil commercial, we have 70 to 80%. In peer mediation, the success rate is 90%. And of course, peer mediation has a positive impact on the lives of young people. And sometimes when we do the selection of the students that will become peer mediation, we don't choose the brightest or the stronger in athletes or the most popular. Sometimes it helps a lot the student who behaves in a different way to become a mediator. Actually, will help this child to see the conflict from another point of view. And teaching students skills to resolve their own conflicts not only improves their lives, but improves the schools which they learn. Because when we have the disciplinary codes, the codes usually refer to the behavior related to the school, to the education. They do not address the interpersonal conflicts. So you can see all these benefits that are very, very powerful. And those who are involved in peer mediation programs or trainings are develop conflict resolution skills for their real life conflicts in the future. This is something very, very powerful. Just a quick reminder of the 6 fundamental pillars of peer mediation that will remind you, of course, to those of you who are mediators, the principles. And I will start with voluntariness. So parties choose to participate in mediation. And once the process begins, they choose whether and how they will resolve their dispute. Parties are free to conclude the mediation process at any time, like like any other mediation session. So the process is totally voluntary. The second principle that we all know is impartiality. And of course, impartiality is very challenging when we have very young peer mediators. So they learn how to refrain from demonstrating judgment about right and wrong, and they strive to be unbiased in their practice at all times. So this is a huge lesson for all these students, for all those students, and how to work on their biases and the stereotypes that we all have. And they also have no interest in forcing parties to take any particular action. When agreements are created, they are fashioned according to the needs of the parties. So usually when we have young students, the mediators create a type of agreement, and the parties involved in the session, they sign this agreement in the end. And the third principle, which is very important, is of course confidentiality. Information that is shared during mediation is held in the strictest confidence by mediators and coordinators, and the parties are informed of any exceptions of confidentiality. There are exceptions, and the younger the students, and of course the peer mediators, there are more exceptions on the confidentiality rule. And one example could be that when we have information that is dangerous or illegal, of course, before they begin the process. Then we have the interpersonal transformation. A primary goal of mediation is to create a forum where people in conflict can come to greater appreciation, and they get a greater appreciation of their strengths, of their weaknesses, and they understand the other party's concern, and this is a huge skill for everyone. So peer mediators help parties create agreements that resolve specific issues, but whenever possible, these agreements can grow out of parties' understanding of the other side's view. And of course, another very important pillar is safety. Mediators create an environment that is physically and emotionally safe. Usually we have a specific venue, we have an area where the students can organize their sessions, and if they feel safe, they can honestly express their thoughts and feelings. and develop trust in the mediators. And it is important to understand that the school environment presents obstacles many times to upholding these principles. And the primary challenge, as we discussed, concerns school disciplinary. So many times mediation and disciplinary work and discipline work in parallel on the same conflict. So parties receive disciplinary consequences and participate in peer mediation session. So we must understand that school rules are not subject of any negotiation during the peer mediation, even though parties might participate in peer mediation, and school mediators must preserve the integrity of their empowering services while working alongside the usually disciplinary system, which is not easy. And of course, the older the students, the more challenging this part. I created this slide in order to present how we organize the peer mediation training, which is the first step, of course. What are the methods and the tools? We use a variety of tools. It's totally different how we train the teachers to train elementary students. It's totally different to train high school students. So the tools are totally different. It's very different to explain to a young child how to show empathy, how to create these empathetic skills, and it's totally different to explain to older student how to be impartial. So the methods and the tools are different. We have a handout, of course, with all the useful tools, meaning how to choose who's going to be trained as peer mediator. If they will write an essay expressing their interest in becoming peer mediators, how they will create all the papers needed. I mean, the agreement to mediate, the mediation agreement, the confidentiality, the consent of the parents. And usually when we organizing a peer mediation training with the school, we invite the parents at a meeting to explain about peer mediation because we want them involved. So we usually dedicate one afternoon to educate the families, the parents, because they need to be engaged in that. And then we have a duration of 2 days where we train the teachers. We don't get into contact with the students because our goal is to deliver the trainer course. And we are not psychologists. We are trainers, we are mediator trainers specialized in peer mediation. So we train adults to become the trainers for the students. The duration is usually 2 days. We run the programs during weekends, but it depends also on the school's program. I mean, it's totally different to train in a private school where they are willing to dedicate a weekend in order to get the accreditation as peer mediation trainers. and the school pays for the training, and it's totally different to deliver the course in a public school, where the training must be within the program of the school. And the content is adjustable to the age of the students. As I said, we try to teach the teachers how to teach the students, the structure, the skills, the process, the people management, everything that we learn as mediators, but we share with them tools that are according to their age. So all the tools and all, of course, the materials are based on the age of the students. And of course, the training is conducted by peer mediation trainers who can deliver all these skills. So we try to teach to the teachers how to share with the students, how to listen, how to talk, how to handle a conflict, how to recognize the emotion, how to explain the issues of a conflict, how to organize a mediation. Of course, the positive thinking, investment, in the cover letter, leader position in the school, self-control, empathy, creative mind, the sense of responsibility, all that we need in order to have a successful peer mediation training. The skills, as we discussed, are very common to what we know as mediators. Of course, the peer mediators cannot show any prejudice. They have to be very empathetic, and this is why the youngest peer mediators that our teachers train are no younger than 10, 11 years old, because when they are younger than that, it's very difficult to control all that. And they have to be impartial and, of course, very good listeners. Now, we have a safety net, as we always have co-mediation, and there is a safety net also because they trust the peer mediators. So it's something that the peer mediators gain from their peers. Let's have a look at the stages of peer mediation. First of all, the peer mediators welcome the parties. They try to discover the stories. They try to dig deeper, as we know, in the iceberg. They choose if they need private sessions, caucuses, as we said, according to the dispute. They try to build understanding and agreement, and of course, we have the agreement writing and closing. In every peer mediation, we have a follow-up meeting where we check, the students check with the parties if everything is according to the plan. And here I prepared this in order to have an idea what's happening during the process. The parties introduce themselves, they describe the situation without interruption. We have the same rules as in our mediation. They repeat the situation described in order to get into the other party's shoes. They put themselves into the other shoes and they brainstorm optional solutions. Of course, it's an assisted negotiation. Peer mediation is an assisted negotiation as well, but the issues are different. And the mediators, they introduce themselves, they set the ground rules, as we do in our openings. They affirm the parties' willingness to participate. They listen and summarize each party's presentation. They ask questions to discover facts, feelings, and different perceptions. So when we do the training, we have a dedicated session on how to ask questions. They encourage the parties to communicate directly and ask each other questions. And of course, they form the agreement in writing, and they close the session. And everything, of course, is totally confidential, as we all know from our mediation. Here I created this slide to give you an idea of a private school here in Greece where we conducted the peer mediation training. On the left, you can see a very small box is where the students, the pupils, give their, they share their willingness to resolve their dispute with mediation. And in the middle, you can see this tree with the feelings and everything. And this is, of course, from elementary school. In high school or in university, where we run, the sessions, is totally different. But this is an idea of how it could be set as the venue of the mediation. So I would say that in conclusion, there are a number of hopes. There are a number of reasons for hope, and the main reason for hope is young people themselves. So when they are offered a positive approach to pulling themselves out of the mess that sometimes adults have created, because sometimes the family has many issues, because there are economic issues, there is violence at home, and all that we know. There is hope because young people will amaze us with their resilience and good sense. And those involved in peer mediation know that very well. And it happens in almost every mediation session. So this is all from me at this point. I would love to hear if you have any questions or points that you would like to discuss. Tony.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Super. Zoe, that was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I find it fascinating. Just by way of context, Zoe knows, I am based in London, and my company, DisputeFiling.com, provides a platform for mediations. We work with ADR, ODR International. One of the things that is happening in England and Wales is that the Ministry of Justice here is trying to introduce mediation on a much wider scale for lower value cases, up to £10,000, about 12,000 euros, I think. And one of the points that we have been making is that in order to introduce enduring change, raise awareness of the benefits of mediation, one should be introducing peer mediation into schools. Hence, I'm here today to learn more, and have learned a lot more. So that's my way of background and just in the context. I have really 3 points, Zoe, if I may.
Yes.
How long has this program, the peer mediation work you've been doing, been running in the Greek schools? My second question is, how long does it take to train the teachers, to train the students? And you reference issues around sanctions regimes, but in the peer mediation scenarios, are these real issues, real disciplinary issues, or are they hypothetical scenarios? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. Very interesting questions. We've been running these programs since 2015. That was the first year we ran this program at the American School here in Thessaloniki, and then we ran the program at the American School in Athens. We are talking about very, very big organizations. Just to give you an idea, when we ran the program at the American College in Athens, we trained 18 psychologists of the school. We talk about 6,000 students, 6,000 pupils. So the amount of the disputes that they try to handle, and of course, unfortunately, I must say that private schools are more alert because they care about their reputation a lot. So we started here at the American College in Thessaloniki. We trained 15 teachers and the principal, and that was very powerful because they pushed them to dedicate one weekend, and this is the answer to your second question, Tony. We ran the program for 2 days. It was Saturday and Sunday, full days, because you all know, those of you who are already mediators or mediators trainers, that the dynamic when we train should be, non-stop. And the funding is interesting. In both schools, the schools paid themselves. And to be honest, there was a huge demand from the teachers to get the training, but they couldn't, of course, afford to pay for all the teachers. So the American College here in Thessaloniki decided to train, it was at the elementary, to train 2 teachers per class. The American College in Athens, which is a huge organization, decided to train only the psychologists because they felt that the psychologists should be involved in the peer mediation programs, and the coordinators were also psychologists. Now, from my experience in Greece, there are many public schools who run peer mediation programs, and there are many amazing teachers who run those programs out of their schedule, with their own funding, and they dedicate themselves to peer mediation. Now we are trying to, we did with the ministry in spring a huge campaign on peer mediation. Despina knows, we shared with 400 directors of schools in northern Greece the principles of peer mediation. And our next action will be to deliver peer mediation training programs. And of course, in public schools, the challenge is the funding. Although there is no profit, in these trainings. Tony, I'm sorry, which one was your third question?
Yes, yeah, forgive me. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you for your answers. The third question was this: when peer mediations take place, are they tackling real issues or are they hypothetical scenarios?
Real issues. Yes, they resolve their real interpersonal disputes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. If I may, before I answer to someone who raised their hand, may I answer to Eleni Papanikolaou? Eleni, are you here with us? Because she's in Seoul and she has to... Liv, is he here or she left? Let me check. No, unfortunately she left. Okay. Who raised the hand?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Yes, okay. My question is, how do you measure the success of a mediation? For example, if one is trying to conduct a study, what are the factors one should look for when looking for the successful mediations?
The success is based on the mediation agreements and their implementation, as in most mediators. Now, the very impressive, this very impressive success rate that I shared with you, 90%, which is huge in my opinion, is based on how many mediation agreements are signed in the end. And because when we have a peer mediation, the issues can be resolved. Sometimes the disputes escalate because they do not know how to handle them. But when they have this opportunity, unless we have violence, or bullying, peer mediation cannot be implemented when we have escalated disputes concerning violence or bullying. This is something that we should make very, very clear. We can prevent bullying because we create a different insight when people, are not the same. And young children, unfortunately, have many stereotypes. And this is shocking because they have stereotypes regarding groups that they have never met, but it comes from the family, from the house, from the home and everything. So peer mediation helps a lot. Thank you. Tuha, no?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone has other questions, they can mute themselves, unmute themselves.
Would you like us to ask me something practical, maybe? Despina raised.
Hello, Zoe. As always, brilliant. I would like to ask you, are there any cases where the teacher or the trainer is present during the mediation, particularly in elementary schools or in high schools, between the ages of 10 and 15? And I would like to ask something else. In case of vulnerable students, maybe disabled people, students, autistic with special needs, or belonging to the poor students of the classroom. Do you have any idea if the mediation is effective? Because you spoke about bullying. Bullying is very common in such circumstances. Is the mediation effective, or do we need another form of alternative dispute resolution in school? I have in mind, for example, dispute resolution in Cyprus, restorative dispute resolution. These are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Despina, and so to the point. And of course, it comes from your huge experience as a mediator. Regarding your first question, we can have the coordinator present if all the parties agree, as in any mediation. And one very crucial part is to have the consent of the parents, especially, as you mentioned, when the students are at the elementary school. they have to know that we have a mediation session and, of course, what happened, the result, the settlement. So the parents should be involved to know, to have awareness of what's happening. Because sometimes it's the parents who escalate the dispute, as we all know, if they are not aware. Now, regarding your second question, which for me is very, very important, in my opinion, mediation is not the alternative, it's the appropriate way of giving access to justice to vulnerable students, to students who feel weak, who feel bullied, who are not, part of the group. And one of the, I would say, criteria to choose a peer mediator is to have one of those children, one of those students, to invite a student to become peer mediator. And this will give him so much power and so much confidence, and it will change their lives. So not only give the opportunity to the bully, but also to give the opportunity to the bullied pupil. And when we train, the teachers, we give a list of criteria on how to choose the mediators who will be trained, the students who will be trained. One might be to write an essay. Another one might be his peers to choose who's going to be the mediator. But sometimes we choose on purpose to train students who are more special than other students in their own way. Thank you, Despina.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Yeah, hi.
Yes, Abdullah. Hi.
Hi. So my question is, what happens when mediation fails? How does the parties usually cope when there is a mediation that has failed and it's not successful? So what happens in that scenario?
Very good question. It depends, of course, on the issues of the dispute, but at the beginning, as you know, if you are a mediator, the mediators explain the rules, that they can leave whenever they want from the session. But in general, even if the mediation session fails or do not come to a settlement, because we avoid the word, fail, the relationship is a little bit better in the future. If they do not come to a settlement, then other mechanisms might, get in the way. And it's not always good, because then we might have the disciplinary codes of the school. But usually, because it's a voluntary session, when they come, they want to, to come to a settlement. And we try to, to engage them in the process. We do the destabilization. We learn the students how to do, the peer mediators, how to do the destabilization that you might know. So this question that you raised, which is very powerful, can be asked to, from the peer mediators. What will happen if you leave the table today? So we have many common principles with the civil, commercial, or the family mediation, although the issues are not legal